Hello. Thanks for having us here at the National Ability Center. My name's Karen, and I'm here with Libbie to introduce a project called Cue the Fun. We're occupational therapy students at the University of Utah who spent the last 3 months at NAC learning all about the incredible programming y'all run. We've developed Cue the Fun as an additional support to the lessons that are already happening at NAC. This program we developed specifically is to support you and your participants through the use of visual cue cards. We'll walk you through what these are, why they're valuable for your programs, and how you can start implementing them.
Let's talk about something that you guys probably already know from your experience working at the NAC. A participant arrives at their program, whether it's biking, archery, climbing, or another activity, and they're bombarded with a ton of verbal instructions all at once. Think about their first day there. They show up, they're in a new space, they're meeting new instructors, and suddenly they're hearing multiple directions about safety, equipment, and technique. For many of your participants, especially those with autism spectrum disorder, processing challenges, or anxiety, this can be incredibly overwhelming. It makes it harder for them to retain the information, understand what's expected, and can create safety challenges during the activity. Research tells us that visual aids for individuals with ASD, like visual schedules and timers, can help to create structure, predictability, and support smoother transitions. These tools improve on-task behavior, reduce anxiety, and can enhance participation during their activities at the NAC. Visual cue cards are a step-by-step visual guide that break down the components of each activity into simple, easy-to-follow images and text. Instead of relying solely on verbal instructions, they have the visual aspect that can show participants and support you as an instructor by providing a reference throughout the activity. So that's what we created for you all today is some visual cue cards for 3 different activities at the NAC.
Before we get to those, let's talk about why this matters for the population you serve. Visual cue cards have 5 major benefits. First, predictability and structure. When participants can see what's coming next and what the steps are, the experience becomes predictable, and that can be grounding. Second, it encourages independence. Instead of constantly asking the instructor, what's next? Participants can reference the cards themselves. They become more active in their own learning. Third, it reduces anxiety. For participants with autism, predictability is therapeutic. Clear visual expectations reduce the stress and uncertainty that can lead to behavioral challenges or shutdowns. Fourth, it improves engagement. When information is presented in multiple ways, visually and verbally, participants stay more engaged. They're not just passively listening, they're visually tracking the steps. And fifth, it supports communication. For participants who are nonverbal or have speech challenges, these cards provide a common language. Everyone's literally looking at the same picture, supporting understanding across different communication styles.
So what we've created is 3 different binders at each of the stations for these different sports of biking, climbing, and archery that all contain different steps of each activity. So as you can see here on the slide, it's different components like putting on your helmet, putting on your harness, or shooting an arrow at the archery range. And we have all of these located in binders for you guys. And they're powerful because they're not just for the participants, but they're for your use as well. So they can be a tool to help ensure consistent instruction across different staff members, making sure that their participants are receiving the same consistent steps every time, and ensuring that they're successful in these activities.
When do we want to use these cue cards during lessons here at NAC? There's a few key moments. At the beginning of sessions, we can use them to introduce safety and equipment. That first 5 to 10 minutes sets the tone for the entire experience. During skill demonstrations, we can use the cards to reinforce verbal instructions. So that way you're showing it and saying it while the participant sees it. When we're introducing new or complex steps, whether it's learning how to shift gears on a bike or understanding the climbing sequence, these are moments where visual supports is especially valuable. For participants who benefit from visual learning or need simplified direct cues, not every participant needs them every time, but having them available means you can meet people where they're at. And finally, to support consistent instruction across instructors and sessions, for quality and safety, to make sure everyone's using the same reference point.
So now that you know that they exist and when to use them, we're going to talk about how to use them. The implementation is pretty straightforward, but there's a few best practices that we want to discuss. So first, make sure that you're presenting just one cue at a time. Don't show them all the steps of the whole activity at once because that can be overwhelming, but just show one step, allow them time to process it, and then move on to the next. Pair the visual cue cards with the same verbal explanation and demonstration that you would do typically. These aren't replacing your instruction, but just supporting it. So you're still talking them through it, showing them it, and this is just your visual anchor. Then check them for understanding. One of the best parts about our visual schedules is that we have a page that is Velcro. And so after you introduce it to them, you can test their knowledge by having them sort the steps in order using the Velcro cards. Encourage independent reference. So if they get stuck on a step or get distracted or skip ahead, you can say what's next and point them back to the visual cue cards as a reference and use it as a guiding point. Make sure you're using them for review and reminders during the session and after the session to kind of talk about what you did today, what went well, what could have gone better. And this helps to foster engagement by actively involving the participants and they're feeling like they are having a piece in their engagement in the activity as well.
We also built in some adaptations, so these can work with any person that you're working with. We can use an expo marker to draw actions, such as the pedaling of a bike or letting go of the arrow, and that can be customized as needed. The expo marker can also be used to cross out the verbal instructions if the person's crushing it and you want to make it a little more challenging for them. You can open up the binder and keep the previous page within sight so they can reference the order while they're trying to rearrange the Velcro strips on their own. Or we can mix in pictures from other activities to really test their knowledge of what we're working on. The point is these aren't rigid and they're tools that you can adapt based on what you're seeing in the room and what the participants need.
So what we're providing you guys with are these binders for biking, archery, and climbing. And like we said earlier, they're all ready to go and available for you to use as you see fit. Obviously, not every session is going to be a perfect fit for this program, but whenever you as an instructor feel like it could come in handy, the binders are there and ready for you to use. They're laminated and super durable, so they could be waterproof if it's raining, or if you need to take them around, clip them out of the binder and bring them with you. They're super adaptable for you to use as you see fit.
Wrapping up, Cue the Fun is about making NAC's already amazing programs even more inclusive and accessible. The visual cue cards can reduce the feelings of being overwhelmed. It can support independence, decrease anxiety, improve engagement, and promote consistent instruction. They're simple to use, flexible, and specifically designed for the populations you serve here. We want your feedback, so it's important to know what's working well and what could be tweaked and how other programs could potentially benefit from this. So please give us feedback, and future OT students can make tweaks or even expand to other sports that y'all do, such as kayaking or cross-country skiing. And we're excited to see how you use these and the impact that it can have on your participants. Thank you so much for this partnership. What you do here is truly transformative, and we're honored to support your mission.